What happens when the quiet girl steps into a world of power, secrets, and lies? Emma thought she was prepared for anything, but she never imagined the truth would be this dangerous and this deadly. Now, the question is, can she survive the game before it's too late? Sometimes, in the stillness of an ordinary life, we forget that great storms can be brewing beneath the surface. And for Emma Williams, her story was no different. On the outside, she was just like any other girl, simple, unassuming, almost invisible in the sea of faces. But little did anyone know, her quiet life was only the calm before the storm. Cut to a shot of Emma sitting at her desk in her room. Her long brown hair cascades over her shoulders, and she's absorbed in her phone, scrolling aimlessly. There's a sense of peaceful solitude about her. She glances out of the window for a moment, as if lost in thought. The world outside seems so perfect, so secure, but something's about to disturb that peace. Emma had always been the kind of person who sought peace. She was a good student, someone who worked hard in class and kept to herself. She didn't crave attention, never liked the spotlight. She had a small group of friends, but nothing that would put her on anyone's radar. She was content with this simple, unremarkable life. At school, Emma blended in with the crowd. She had no desire to stand out. Some would call her invisible, and that suited her just fine. Her friends liked her because she wasn't the type to make waves or cause drama. She wasn't the most popular, but that didn't bother her. In fact, it was better that way. She could go about her day without drawing attention to herself. Everything about Emma seemed normal. Her family was well off, but they lived modestly, never flaunting their wealth. Her father, President Williams, was a man of great power, but he kept his public life separate from his home life. At home, Emma was just a daughter, just a teenager. To the outside world, she was nothing more than that, nothing to suggest the life-changing secrets she held in her heart. Her father, President Williams, was a man of great authority, leading the country with a steady hand. But even though the world knew him as a powerful political figure, Emma saw a different side of him. At home, he was just Dad, a man who cherished family dinners and took time out of his busy schedule to listen to his daughter's day. The president had always kept his public persona separate from his private life, and in that home, Emma was treated just like any other child. She had a loving mother, a protective father, and a quiet life. But in the silence of that life, something was stirring. Emma was no ordinary teenager, but that secret was one she held close. For years, she kept the truth about her family's legacy hidden from her peers. Her father's status as the president was something she kept to herself. She didn't want to be known as the president's daughter. She didn't want to be treated differently. She just wanted to be normal. And for the longest time, that's exactly what she was. Like so many teenagers, Emma struggled with the weight of expectations. She had her own dreams, her own ambitions, but there were always those moments when she would look at her father's career, at the world he had built, and wonder if she could ever escape it. Could she ever be just Emma? Just a girl, without the legacy of a powerful family hanging over her every move? Home was her sanctuary, her escape, a place where she could put down the weight of the world and simply be with her family. But even in that safe haven, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something was changing. And soon, her peaceful world would be shaken in ways she could never have imagined. Every day felt like a new chapter, unfolding in slow motion. But sometimes life doesn't give you warning signs. Sometimes it shifts without you even realizing it until it's too late. Emma's life was about to change, and the storm that would break her calm was already on the horizon. Little did Emma know, someone was watching, someone had already noticed her, and that someone would soon turn her quiet life upside down. Emma's life had always been one of quiet routine. Study, school, home, repeat. It was comfortable, predictable. But even in the calmest of waters, a ripple can cause waves. And today, that ripple would become a storm. For the first time, Emma would feel what it was like to be pushed too far. And what would come next? Well, that was something no one could have predicted. Madison told, well, if it isn't Emma Williams, you still hanging out in the shadows, hiding from the spotlight? Madison and her friends were never the kind to hold back. For them, making others feel small was a sport, and Emma, she was their favorite target. But today, the game would change. Today, the girl they thought they could push around wouldn't stay silent. Not anymore. Madison told, I heard your dad's been busy again. Always in the papers, isn't he? Must be nice having everything handed to you on a silver platter. Wonder what it's like to live in a world where money and power get you whatever you want. I bet your dad even picks out your outfits for you, huh? You seriously can't even dress yourself, can you? No wonder you always look like you stepped out of some charity shop catalog. Emma told, maybe you should watch what you say, Madison. You have no idea who you're messing with. Madison told, oh, and who exactly are you? What, you think because your dad's the president, you can walk around here like you're untouchable? Emma told, I don't need to walk around like I'm untouchable, but maybe you'll think twice before you mess with me again. For a moment, there's a tense silence. Madison opens her mouth to retort, but before she can say anything, Emma walks away. For years, Emma had kept herself hidden. She had lived in the shadows, careful not to reveal too much of herself. But today, she'd done something she never thought possible. She'd stood up for herself. For the first time, she showed Madison that she wouldn't just roll over, that she wasn't just the president's daughter, she was Emma Williams. And Madison? She had no idea what she'd just started. They had underestimated her. They thought she was just another girl to pick on. But in that moment, Emma had shown them the one thing they never saw coming, that even the quietest people have the power to shake the world around them. But little did she know this confrontation was only the beginning. Madison wouldn't back down so easily, and soon Emma would be forced to reckon with the consequences of standing up for herself. After the confrontation, Emma's life felt different. She had spoken up. She had drawn a line in the sand. But in the quiet aftermath of her words, there was something new, something heavier looming on the horizon. For the first time, Emma felt the weight of her family's legacy, and she didn't like it. She had never wanted to be the president's daughter. She didn't want her identity to be defined by someone else's name. But today, she had stepped into a world she could no longer ignore. And the truth was, Emma wasn't just any teenager. She was someone with more power and more responsibility than she realized. And soon, she would have to decide whether she could live with that truth. Agent Thomas told Miss Williams, your father will be expecting you at home soon. He wants to speak with you about today. Emma told, I didn't mean for it to escalate. It was just a comment, but I couldn't ignore it anymore. Agent Thomas told, I understand, but your father has always taught you that power isn't just about strength. It's about knowing when to use it. Emma had spent years hiding in plain sight, carefully concealing the truth about who she was. It wasn't that she was ashamed of her father, far from it, but she had always craved normalcy. She wanted to experience the world like any other teenager, not as a pawn in a political game. She wanted to be seen for who she truly was, Emma, not the daughter of a man with immense power, not the figurehead of a political dynasty, but just a girl with hopes and dreams of her own. But today, as she found herself facing the consequences of her actions, she realized something. Normalcy wasn't an option anymore. The world would never look at her the same way again. President Williams told, "Come in, Emma. We need to talk." Emma told Dad, "I didn't mean to cause a scene. It just happened. I was tired of being quiet." President Williams told Emma, "I know you. I know what you've been through. But you have to understand something. Your actions today have consequences, not just for you, but for everyone around you." Emma told, "I didn't do anything that bad. I just stood up for myself. I didn't want to be pushed around anymore." President Williams told, "I know, sweetheart, but there are forces at play in this world that are far beyond our control. You're not just any teenager, and you're not just my daughter. There are people who would use your identity to hurt others, to manipulate situations for their own gain. Your name carries weight." Emma told, "So you're saying that because of who I am, I can't do what I did today? I can't stand up for myself?" President Williams told, "No, Emma. What I'm saying is that you have a power that others can't even begin to understand. Your words, your actions, they carry consequences. And right now, the world doesn't know you as Emma Williams. They know you as the president's daughter. You're already a target." Emma had always believed she was just like anyone else, that her family's status didn't define her, that she could live a normal life. But today, the truth was impossible to ignore. She was more than just Emma Williams. She was a figure, a symbol, a part of a much larger story that she couldn't escape. The secret she had tried so hard to bury was no longer hers to keep, and now the world was beginning to take notice. The storm had come, and Emma was caught in the middle of it. Her hidden identity, the one she'd kept so carefully guarded, was out in the open. Emma had always prided herself on being the quiet one, the one who flew under the radar. But today, for the first time, she had felt the consequences of her silence slipping away. Her confrontation with Madison was nothing compared to what she was about to face. The world she had tried so hard to shield herself from was about to come crashing into her life, and the true cost of her father's power would soon become painfully clear. President Williams told Emma, "What you did today, standing up to Madison, that's not just a high school spat. You don't know the kind of attention you've attracted, and this isn't something you can undo with a few words. Your actions have consequences, and this time, they don't just affect you." President Williams told, "You see, Emma, in this world, power isn't just about what you can do. It's about knowing when and where you can do it. What you did today was a ripple in the pond. But that ripple, it's already being felt far beyond this house, and I'm afraid it's only going to get worse from here." Emma told, "I didn't think it would go this far. It was just a confrontation, Dad. Just some words." President Williams told, "Words have power, Emma. You'll understand that one day. And today, you used your words to make a statement. But you have to know, the world sees you now, and not just as my daughter, but as someone they can use, someone they can control. Whether you like it or not, you have power, Emma, and that power, it's a double-edged sword." Emma had never wanted power. She had never asked for it. She simply wanted to live her life, to carve out her own space in the world without the weight of her father's title constantly looming over her. But the moment she spoke up, the moment she chose to stand her ground, something inside her had shifted. And now, she was learning the hard way that power wasn't something you could wield carelessly. It wasn't something you could easily put down. Agent Thomas told Miss Williams, "I've seen this happen before. It starts small, like today. A word, a comment, a gesture. But soon, you'll be forced to make a choice. You'll be forced to decide just how far you're willing to go to protect that power. And believe me, the stakes will rise quickly. People will come after you. They'll try to manipulate you, use you as a pawn in a game you didn't ask to play. They'll try to turn you into something you're not." Emma told, "But what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to fix this?" President Williams told, "You have to understand something, Emma. Power isn't always about action. It's also about restraint. It's about knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, when to act and when to step back. You can't always control how others perceive you, but you can control how you respond to them. You're not a victim in this, Emma, but neither are you an invincible force. You're somewhere in between, and learning how to balance that will be the hardest part of your journey." For the first time in her life, Emma had tasted power. Not the kind that came with the title of President's daughter, but a power of her own. A power that could be used for good or for ill. A power that she didn't fully understand, but one that was already beginning to change the way others saw her. The question was no longer whether she could navigate this new world. The question was whether she even wanted to. Today, Emma had learned that power was not a gift. It was a burden. And the price of that power? It was a debt she would have to pay, whether she was ready or not. Emma had never been one for confrontation. She was the quiet observer, the one who stayed out of the limelight. But the moment she stood up to Madison, she unknowingly set in motion a series of events that would change everything. For the first time, she understood that power, once tasted, could not be easily ignored. The attention it brought, both the good and the bad, was no longer something she could control. And now, she had a choice to make: retreat back into the shadows or fight back with everything she had. The fallout from Emma's actions was swift. The whispers that followed her through the halls were not just about her words, but about who she was, who her father was. People were starting to look at her differently, and that was something Emma wasn't ready for. She had never asked for this attention, and yet here it was. The quiet, unnoticed girl she used to be was slowly slipping away, replaced by the version of herself that everyone else was creating for her. The pressure, the judgment, it was all too much. Emma told, "I'm not going to let them do this to me." In that moment, Emma realized something she hadn't fully understood before. She didn't need to engage in every fight. Sometimes the best way to strike back was by showing them that their words, however cutting, couldn't touch her. She wasn't afraid anymore. Not of Madison, not of the rumors, not of the power she had accidentally tapped into. But that didn't mean things were going to get easier. The message reads, "I know who you are. Don't think you can hide behind your father's name. People like you don't belong here." As the day wore on, Emma could feel the weight of every stare, the distance her classmates put between her and the others, the subtle rejection. But something in her had changed. A quiet fire, one she didn't even realize existed, was slowly growing inside her. She had learned the price of standing up for herself, but she was also beginning to learn the power of choice, and right now, The choice was hers to make. Luke told, "I know what's been happening. The rumors, the texts. You're not alone, you know." Emma told, "What do you mean?" Luke told, "People like us, we don't fit in, but that doesn't mean we don't matter, and it doesn't mean we have to stand back and let others push us around. I've seen what they do to people who don't fall in line. They tear them down. They make you feel small, but you don't have to let them win. You have power, too. You don't have to hide behind your father's name to stand up for what's right." Luke's words hit Emma harder than she expected. For the first time, someone was telling her that her power didn't come from her father. It came from her, from the strength inside her that she'd kept hidden for so long. She had always thought she had to fight alone, but now she was beginning to see that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't. Today, Emma had learned something crucial. Power wasn't something to be afraid of. It was something to embrace. And when you embraced it, when you took ownership of it, there was nothing anyone could do to strip it away. Not the whispers, not the threats, not the fear. She wasn't just the president's daughter anymore. She was Emma. And now she would strike back. Emma had crossed a line, and there was no going back. The small act of defiance that had once felt like a fluke was now a full-blown war. A war fought with whispers, with stares, with subtle manipulations behind closed doors. But the real battle was only beginning. The stakes were higher now. What she didn't realize, what she was yet to fully understand, was just how deep the game she was playing truly went, and the cost of winning. Madison wasn't just a school bully. She was a player in a much bigger game. She had learned long ago that power wasn't just about influence, it was about control. And control, for someone like Madison, meant making sure everyone knew their place. She had underestimated Emma before, but that mistake wouldn't happen again. "I hope you're ready for what's coming. You've made a dangerous enemy." The message was clear. They had underestimated her. But what Madison, and those who followed her, didn't realize was that Emma wasn't playing by the same rules anymore. This wasn't about petty high school drama. This wasn't even about defending her reputation. This was about power. And Emma was about to learn that power wasn't something you could control with just words or silence. Sometimes it had to be fought for, fought in ways she never thought she'd be forced to. Emma's friends had started to drift away, one by one. They didn't want to be caught in the crossfire of a battle that wasn't theirs. She understood why. They hadn't asked for this, but as the distance between her and her former friends grew, Emma realized something else. This was the price of power. The price of making a choice. You couldn't play the game without alienating some people. The real question was whether she could handle that loss, and if she could, whether she was ready to go further. Text reads, "You've made a big mistake. This is where it ends." Emma was beginning to understand the dangerous game she was caught in. The rules weren't written down. There was no guidebook for how to navigate this world of power and manipulation, of playing people against each other, of knowing when to strike and when to retreat. But the more she thought about it, the clearer it became. She couldn't afford to be passive anymore. She couldn't let them dictate her fate. If this was the game they wanted to play, then she'd have to play it smarter, faster, and with a lot more force than she ever thought she could. Madison told, "Did you think you could just waltz in here and disrupt everything without consequences? You're not as untouchable as you think, Emma." Emma told, "I didn't come here to make friends, Madison, but you better believe I won't back down. If you want to play dirty, then so be it. But don't forget, this is my game now too. Emma had taken her first real step into the dangerous game she'd found herself in. She had thrown down the gauntlet. The lines were drawn, no more hiding, no more retreating. And now Emma had a choice, to continue playing or to walk away. The danger wasn't just in the threats or the insults, it was in the game itself, the constant shifting of alliances, the lies, the manipulations. But Emma was no longer afraid of the game. She was ready to play, and that, for better or worse, would change everything. Emma had learned to play the game. She'd fought back against Madison's manipulations, learned the power of silence, and even struck a few blows of her own. But the more she fought, the more she realized that the game was much bigger than she'd ever imagined. There were players here, powerful, dangerous players who weren't just interested in high school drama. They had their eyes on something much bigger. And Emma? She was now a pawn in a game she barely understood. You think you're in control? We know everything. Your father's secrets, his deals. You're not as safe as you think. This game is about to end. Emma's heart skips a beat as the words burn into her mind. Her father's secrets? What could they mean? Was this about her father's political connections? The deals he's made? She hadn't thought about his influence in the grand scheme of things. To her, this was just high school, until now. But as the world around her starts to feel like it's closing in, Emma knows that she's reached the point of no return. She's playing with forces far more dangerous than she ever realized. They know, Emma. The ones behind this. They're coming for you. Don't trust anyone, not even me. We have what we need. Your father's deals won't save you now. You're in our game now, Emma. Emma had always thought she was in control. She had believed that as long as she played it smart, she could handle whatever came her way. But now, the stakes were higher than she could have ever imagined. The game was no longer about Madison's petty school drama or rumors. It was about power. Real, dangerous power. And the people behind it weren't just playing for control of the school, they were playing for something far bigger, something Emma couldn't yet fathom. Man told Emma Williams, "We need to talk." The game had reached its final twist. Emma was no longer just a pawn. She was the center of a game that had been played long before she even knew the rules. And now, with one final move, everything was about to come crashing down. Who could Emma trust? Who was behind the messages? And more importantly, what was their endgame? The final twist was in motion. The truth was about to be revealed, and Emma had no idea how it would end. But one thing was for sure. The game had just begun. The final twist is set in motion, and Emma is now at the center of a game far more dangerous than she ever imagined. But who is really behind the mystery, and what do they want from her? Could this be the end of her journey, or just the beginning of something much darker? What do you think's going to happen next? Who do you think is behind the mystery? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this twist, don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe, and click the bell icon.